Remind myself why nobody learns Torah very exciting.
But we're special.
Do the best we can. Torah hi v'lo moedani tzarech. So we're trying to understand a little bit about the spheros, which is difficult enough. The spheros I explained last week, or at the beginning of the week, was the spheros are how Hashem created the world. Sort of the breakdown of how Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world. So the best way to think about it is, I think the easiest way to think about it is that if you have a light going through a prism, you'll see all the different variables in the light. You'll see all the different colors in the light. When you're looking at the Or Pashut, you don't see those colors. You just see light. That's light. Light is for amateurs. If you break it down, it's part of that psychedelic experience of being able to see the breakdown of everything. You're young. Just a fascinating thing, like, the it's not what I'm going to talk about here, but it's just a fascinating thing, like the 60s were very into the mind expansion idea. So a Harvard psychiatrist, Timothy Leary, Harvard psychologist. So he met up with some. In 1962, he met up with some Indian chief or something that showed him the godless of what they ended up calling LSD. So, and he did many experiments with it. It was just like sort of an herb. You can get it into your body in many different ways. But what, as he described it, is like, if you read his book, which is just historically interesting, if you he described it like, we walk around with glasses. So let's say you walk around with, 2 microscopes on your eyes. Like, cool, right? But it's only cool for a couple minutes, then you start going crazy. So this was but the idea was to be able to see that's a psychedelic experience, to be able to see not just what we all see, which is the conglomeration of everything together, which would be Pashut, it all comes together, but to be able to see the breakdown of everything and exactly what it is. So that's already, that's like an amazing, so from that era, amazing art came out, and amazing music, and amazing, and amazing Michiganers came out of this era, and he died a couple of years ago. Well, these are the Ram Dass, these guys. They were arguing this till the end of their days. I think Ram Dass is still around, actually. This idea of getting out of the mind everything that it can. Okay, it's got nothing to do with us, except for that the spheros, just to give you a bushel to what it means to break down something pashut into different aspects, and that's the different spheros, and everyone. They're called, in the Lashon of Kabbalah, the spheres are called gavonim. Gavonim are colors. Gavonim, it's colors, that's what it means. In other words, but it doesn't mean literally colors necessarily. If we would see all the different colors, it would be like a crazy thing. Every once in a while you see a rainbow, so the rainbow is a hiskalos of the spheros. That's what it is, the seven colors of the rainbow. So on the one hand, it's a beautiful thing. On the other hand, that's meant to be benister, it's meant to be hidden. You're not supposed to see it. But there's this Gilui of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Gilui of HaKadosh Baruch Hu somehow telling us that there should be Klala, but there is Bracha at the same time. So that's the spheres. The hardest spheros are the ones that we don't deal with altogether. That's the spheres of the Kesser. Because as much as we could understand, and he wrote a book on the 7 spheres, HaTachtonos, because they manifest themselves in some kind of Gashmias form, which we'll get to, but the Kesser is Lamala Min HaSoga. The Kesser is before the Tzimtzum. So if you talk about the highest of the 10 spheros, the top 3, we don't even mention them in Spheres Omer and wherever we mention spheres. Everything is connected to Zion. 7 days of the week, 7 Shpizin, etc. it's all connected the Zion spheres. The Aser Shebei Tshuva is connected the Aser spheres. So Aser Shebei Tshuva is even higher. So that's the Aser Shebei Tshuva, and that's the Aser spheres, and that's the Kesser. The Kesser, meaning above what we can understand, is, we learned, the quick Chazara, is Kesser itself, which we don't even have a name for, it's so hard to understand, and then Chachma and Bina, which we feel like we can get some kind of a relationship with the Chachmas Hashem. Don't forget, all the while, that we're created b'tzelem Elokim, which means that we need to emulate this tzelem. So we're now into the third Hashlishis, which we're saying an aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let's try to even touch this. Hashlishis, we can understand Machshava a little bit. And we spoke about Kesser. Let me remind you, Kesser itself as Anova. We spent a lot of time talking about what Anova means. All we know about the Kesser is that it's face downwards, not upwards. That the purpose of the Bria is to be mashpia downwards. There's no purpose of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for Hashem said this, not me, but there's no purpose of being just ba'olam oisel yarnim without creating a world. So everything it's like the umbrella turns this way and the hashpah goes downwards. That's what an anav is. Moshe anav mikol adam. Even when HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, stay up here in the mountains, stay up in Shemayim, that's not what he wanted to do. That's not what we want to do. Maybe if we'll go to Shemayim, we'll be in a higher spiritual thing, Yoshvim v'atrois sehem b'roishehem. Sit there with their crowns. That's not what we want. We want to be in this world and make the tikkun that we have to make in this world. Very difficult sometimes because we're involved at a very gashmis level. So the anivus is downwards. In Chachma, we explained at the beginning of the week. Hashlishis, let's get to the topic of the day. The third aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if we'll understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu just as a mashal, as try to get some kind of a picture of, a chart, and a chart looks like a person. Not that HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks like a person, but the chart looks like a person. So Hashlishis Mitzchai is the forehead. So it is forehead. How many people have thought about their forehead? So, which gets bigger as you get older. So, your hands don't get bigger, your feet don't get bigger, your forehead gets bigger. So, it's a sign of a lot of activity. We understand what Yadayim do. With the lower spheres, we understand what Raglayim do. But we can understand the heart, we can understand the Midas HaYesod, but it's hard to understand what does the forehead do. We can even understand the eyes and down. We understand what does the forehead do. So, Mitzchai Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So let me just read the words to see what we don't understand, and then maybe try to make some Havana out of this. The third aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore us, is Mitzchai, is represented in the forehead, and that means Loyia by Koshi Klal. It should have no Koshi. Ela Yidmeh, a person should be Tamid. Yidmeh Tamid, a person should always be likened. L'Netzach Harotzain, to the Netzach Harotzain, means of Hashem. Sheyiratze es Hakol. Afilu she'imsa b'nei adam kayasim, even if you'll find people around you that are annoying and angry, yiratzein, yashkitein. Calm them down. Birtzainoi hatoiv, with your forehead. Anybody have a clue here? Shekein metzach harotzain, utamid rotze umeratze hagvurois umesaknon. Avhu, says the Tomer Devorah, yiratze hagibarim hamiskabrim kasam, v'hu yenahaleim berotzim toiv yishatev shem chachma gedoyla. Well, it's getting too complicated, so let's just stop here for a minute. Like, what happens? Let's start from the beginning. The Chumash says, find the pasuk here. In the beginning, Cain killed Hevel. Vayomer Cain el Hashem, and then he was caught. Vayomer Cain el Hashem gadol avoini minsai. Can't carry the sin. And gerashti oisi hayomi al pnei adamo miponecha asaser. You're throwing me out of Eretz Yisrael. Not just not out of Gan Eden, they were already out of Gan Eden. You're throwing me out of Eretz Yisrael. Where did he go? Eretz Nod. Eretz Nod, Nod, Nov and Nod, yeah. So he went to Eretz Nod, which is Chutz La'aretz, Golus. Umi Ponecha Esaser, and there will be Hester Ponim. Vayisi Nov and Nod, Ba'aretz. I'm going to be nomadic in the world. V'haya kol motzi, and anyone who finds me, Yehargeni, will kill me. This was Cain said, okay, I did a chet. I understand I did a chet, but how am I supposed to live now with the ramifications of this chet? Vayomer lo Hashem. So Hashem said to him, L'chein kol hoirei Cain shivasayim yukam, that after 7 doros, I'll take my punishment from Cain, and I give you a reprieve for 7 generations. So Cain can walk around, Nov and Nod, 7 generations, and nobody is going to take revenge. What happened after 7 generations? Lamach, Noach. At the end of 7 generations, they thought, okay, Cain died. At the end of 7 generations, he lived 7 generations. At the end of 7 generations, so the people said, okay, now it's time for the tikkun of Mashiach, the tikkun of the chet of Cain and the chet of Adam, and the world was destroyed. First Noach was born, and they said, Moshe Lemach saying, when Noach was born, they said, Zeh Yenachamenu Yoishek Yadeinu, that this boy is going to save us. He's Mashiach. And everything looked like it was Mashiach until Noach messed up himself when he came out of the ark. There was a Gog and Magog there, right? All the Ra was destroyed. Noach came back. So that didn't work out, but it could have worked out. So Hashem said, Kol ha'irikayim shivasayim yukam v'yasem Hashem l'kain. Now, how's everybody supposed to know this? Nevuah. So v'yasem Hashem l'kayin ois. Vilti hakoisai kol moitzai. And Cain received the mark of Cain, right? That nobody, vilti hakoisai kol moitzai. Everyone should know that they shouldn't kill him. Rashi says, v'yasem Hashem l'kayin ois. Chokak loy ois mishmoi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took a letter. What's an ois? He took a letter from his name, presumably Yud Kei Vav Kei. We don't know which letter it was, as far as I know. Chokak loy ois mishmoi bim mitzchai, and put it on his forehead. So he's walking around with this. Rashi says, Kol moitzi yohargeni habehemois v'achayos. I'm going to be like an animal now. I did a chet. So the animals are going to, you put me, if I'm in the yishuv, so that I have a chance of survival, you're putting me out there, can you imagine? Putting me out there in the world, and it was an uninhabited world. Who was there? Which people were there even? B'nai Shais were there. Avul b'nei Adam adayin lo haya shayara mehem rak avi v'imai mehem lo haya yarish yargu. There weren't that many people who were worried about animals in the second lesson, Rabbi. But there were people. Until now, all the animals saw me, they ran away. On the contrary, I'm going to be afraid of the animals. So Hashem gave Cain an ois, hechzer by ra'ay al hakol, and once again, all the animals were afraid of him. It sounds, what does it sound? So there was an ois on his head, and somehow the animals understood, leave him alone. So, and the ois was al mitzchai, and that created, there was a naturally he lost his surah of an Adam, of a Tzelem Elokim, and everyone's going to attack him, people and animals, everything's going to attack him. But somehow this Oisel Hashem on his Netzach created a certain chen or a certain ratzon that the Tzelem Elikim was returned to him. Now, I'm saying this only as a mashal. I'm not. This is not Avodah Zarah 101 here, but it's just interesting that all the almost every religion, is big on this forehead thing. Like the Hindus, the Hare Krishna, so the clay on the head. Like the forehead is the big. This all comes from the union of Kain. That's all of this comes from the union. That's how they. It was the Buddhists, the Hindus, and the Jews. That the Jews wore the Kohen Gadol wore tzitz. Tzitz. Take it slow. So the tzitz says in Parshas Vayakhel coming up that the Kohen Gadol wore the tzitz. The tzitz was on the forehead, right? And the tzitz had the Shem Hashem on it. Yud Kei Vav Kei. V'haya mitzchay tamid, should be on his Netzach tamid, l'ratzayin, ifnei Hashem, l'ratzayin. So that was the ratzayin. What does that mean? What does it mean l'ratzayin, l'ifnei Hashem? As a ratzayin. So, the tzitz was like this. Halachically, the Gemara Menachos, the Gemara Menachos describes the tzitz that when the Kohen Gadol was wearing the tzitz, so if somebody brought a carbon and the carbon came from something which was tamei, so Gemara Menachos says that the tzitz was meratzeh, that somehow or another, like the fact that the Kohen Gadol, I don't know how these things work, was pretty basic, but somehow or another, the fact that the Kohen Gadol had his tzitz on, so that was meratzeh Lifnei Hashem. So my small understanding is that there's a carbon. So somebody's bringing a carbon, and the carbon's going up to Hashem. But there's a stima. There's a blockage. The blockage is called tumah. Tumah is not a chet. Tumah is a stima. That's what tumah is. Timtum. That's what it is. There's a blockage, and it's not going where it's supposed to be going. So the tzitz takes care of that. The tzitz of the Kohen Gadol is meratzeh, and that's the pshat to the Gemara. That's the pshat in that the Haya Mitzchay Tamid L'Ratzayin Lifnei Hashem, that the tzitz is meratzeh. The Gemara. So the tzitz is creating a ritzui. Gemara has an interesting question. Does the tzitz do that even if the Kohen Gadol is not wearing it? Machlokes Tanoim. There's a tzitz. There's a tzitz. Do you need a Kohen Gadol b'chlal? Do you need a Kohen Gadol? You just need a tzitz. Like is it in the gaver or in the chefza? So
Both together means fact is connected.
That's machlokes. Do you need the man behind the tzitz? So let me phrase the question in my way. Do you need the Netzach or just the tzitz? Al mitzchay. So there's a machlokes tonight. The Rambam paskins that if the Kohen's not wearing it, then it doesn't do any good. So if you'll find now in some archaeological dig, you'll find a tzitz. It's not going to help you to be meratzeh because you don't have the Kohen Gadol behind it. You need a Kohen Gadol. Okay, so how's that work? How does it work? The tzitz work. The other thing, just before to even attempt to explain how it could work, you have, as Eitan Yehuda says, you have the union of tefillin. So the tefillin, even though it's not on your forehead, it's up here, but that's also something, because it says in the Torah, that the sort of the biblical place to put the tefillin is a dimion to the tzitz. So Torah Shabbal Peh somehow from Shemayim knew that it doesn't mean mamish beinenecha means up here. So we take this for granted, and if you don't do that, you're some kind of a stuki or an amaritz. So you don't wear your tefillin down here, and we're very medactic on this Indian. So the Tzadikim, I guess, Ada Yom Hazeh, wear the tefillin in the middle. And don't eat cholent on Shabbos. So the Sadducee thing to do. So Tatar Shabbat Peh puts the tefillin higher, but Ba'etzem it's the same as the tzitz. The tefillin and the tzitz are connected. I'll give you an example. The Rambam says in Hilchos Tefillin that when you're wearing tefillin, you mashmesh b'tefillin tamid. It says in Shulchan Aruch, based on the Rambam. You should always be checking your tefillin, making sure it's in a good place. You mashmesh b'tefillin tamid. So the Rambam, the makor of this is in the Rambam, and the Rambam says, Kal v'chomer mitzitz, that mat tzitz, ein lo yelo shem achas shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The tzitz only has one shem of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yud Kei Vav Kei. And there's an isser for the Kohen Gadol to be Masiach Das from the tzitz, has to have Das with the tzitz the whole time. Says the Rambam, Kal v'chomer tefillin shel roish yesh bo yesrim askarais, has 20 shemos in the tefillin shel roish. So Kal v'chomer, you're putting the Shem Hashem on your head. Kal v'chomer, you can't be Masiach Das. Tzitz to the 20th power is tefillin. So, and what does it require? It requires, the Rambam tells us, doesn't explain why, but it somehow requires Das. So that's probably the Rambam L'Shitasa, that the Rambam paskins that the tzitz needs a Kohen Gadol, because the tzitz without a Kohen Gadol this has das. There's no das at all. No person. What's the man behind the tzitz?
How did the Kohen Gadol wear the tefillin?
Oh, so that's the Rambam speaks about it. So it worked out good. That's in fact one of the ways we know, Chazal know, that the tefillin go up here. So the tefillin were here and the tzitz was here. So it had 21 pieces of das. But it's the point I'm making is all about das. So the tzitz without the kohen is tefillin without das, like putting tefillin in your drawer. What good does that do? Nothing. It's common. When I was in Buffalo, so there was a conservative rabbi. I went once to a bar mitzvah ceremony because it wasn't in the shul. So this conservative rabbi spoke at the ceremony, and he said that everybody wants to know. He tells the bar mitzvah boys, everybody wants to know what happened to the 10 lost tribes. I'll tell you, they all became bar mitzvah. You got bar mitzvah and you're out of here. No more tefillah, no more like it's, yeah, sad. So he was bemoaning the sadness, like come to the temple, like come, but the answer is it needs das. It needs das. It's not about putting on tefillin. It's das. But the lashon of the Zohar, if you don't wear tefillin even one day, so you're a karkafta de lemonach tefillin. You're a karkafta de lemonach tefillin. So this das has to come out. Okay, so what I want to get back to is that the tzitz. There's one more thing about the forehead, which I want to just try to bring it all together, try to understand this Tomer Devorah, which is very elusive. It doesn't explain to us what he means, but we know that like one of the things that we say in Vidui, it goes in Seder Aleph Beis. So the ayin is al chet shechatanu lefanecha ba'azus Netzach, Azus Netzach, because I'm going to get right into that. Azus Netzach, which means what?
Guy.
Azus? Chutzpah. Chutzpah. So what does chutzpah have to do with the forehead? Azus Netzach. Not only that, but the Gemara says in Psachim, the Gemara says in Psachim Ein Hey, those Kachim Gemaras, it says that the tzitz is also mechaper on the chet of Azus Netzach. So let me just draw for you a portrait here of what I'm trying to say, which, by the way, I have no idea what the pshat and all this is, but I'm just putting it out there. That you have the Netzach that I know of. You have the Netzach of Kayin, that was marked. And somehow or another, and it was the Shem Hashem. And that somehow or another kept the danger away. And you have the tzitz of the Kohen Gadol, and similarly our tefillin. And then you have the azus Netzach, which seems to be the avera that you do with your forehead. So all of a sudden, the forehead, which I don't know if it was before this morning, the forehead is becoming very prominent in our divrei machshava. We understand the brains, the heart, the forehead. What's with the forehead? It's a very prominent thing. And let me just tell you one more thing, that there's a little aleph at the beginning of Vayikra. So Chazal tell us that Moshe Rabbeinu, in his humbleness, wrote the aleph small, so it shouldn't be like he didn't want to make himself different than Bilam, where it said Vayikar Elikim LeBilam. Vayikra is a much more Bakavadik, so in his Hanivas, he wrote Vayikra with a little, can't change it, but he wrote a little aleph apparently in the Sefer Torah. That was the Hanivas of Moshe Rabbeinu. Says Chazal that there was ink left over. He had ink left over, and so he purposely or accidentally, put it on his forehead, and Misham Yatsa Karnei Hoid Panav Shel Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's where the Karnei Hoid came from Moshe Rabbeinu, where his face was alive and light all the time. Ad Kedei Kach, the people couldn't even look at him. So it's a very interesting thing that Moshe Rabbeinu had this leftover aleph, which, by the way, the aleph, of course, is 2 yuds and a vav, which is right, 2 yuds and a vav, which is yud kei vav kei. So Moshe Rabbeinu had the leftover aleph, and the tzitz had the yud kei vav kei, and Kayin had the ois achas. Rashi says mishmai had one letter of Shem Hashem, presumably of the Yud Kei Vav Kei, on it, and somehow or another this creates a ratzon and a ritzui, and it's maratza tuma.
I suggest a connection between the Azus Netzach and what the Tomer Devorah is saying. I think that Tzad Shava is the idea.
Azus Netzach and what?
And being maratza kol adam, like the Tomer Devorah is talking about. I think that Tzad Shava is like sticking your nose where it might not belong. Like there's this meter of
His nose is getting into this.
What? No, I don't need a nose. I'm sorry.
You got to be careful with this.
Butting heads.
Nose is next week.
We're butting heads.
Right. Like sticking your forehead, yeah, where it doesn't belong. Like Azus is like, where do you get off asking for that? Like, who do you think you are, right? Chutzpah. So being maratza kol adam is a similar kind of a meter. Like you're getting involved in things that you might well be told, this is not your business. No, that is my business. I want to help you. Like, so it's really using the same type of a meter, right, in a positive way.
Okay. Let me try to explain a little bit. Put the thought on hold for a second so that you can open up to Let's talk about what is ratzon. Analyze it psychologically. A person wants to do something, but like what is that? Is that the ratzon? What is that? Is it chachma? Dafka, you can want to do something which is very stupid. Something can be very smart. I just don't want to do it. That's me all the time.
Lashon ritzui, to please, to not only to want.
Okay, but what's ratzon? Make it easy.
It's very
Before you get into the...
it's very influenceable, like influenced by society, by the followers, when you real, such things real.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of things we know we should do, but we don't do. Like take a colonoscopy. So, it's like one of those things that everybody knows they should do. It's like stupid, not to do it. But tomorrow, next week, it wasn't like Dafka today. You have to do a colonoscopy. So much, no,
That's something you want. That's something you want.
So Okay, so what is the Ratzon? So the Ratzon is let's understand that the Ratzon, like I just like to posit the following, that the student places on it. I'll send it here.
I'll send it to you.
The Ratzon is you know when you think about what is a person really, so like what is, so is a person what they do, so not necessarily. Sometimes a person does things and it doesn't define like exactly what the person is. It doesn't mean you don't get an onesh for it. It doesn't mean that you made a choice. You got to be careful with what you do. But this is like we're learning in Tillim at night. Parak after parak, pasuk after pasuk. David HaMelech talks about like, okay, I did a chet b'Hashem. Is that what I am? Does that define like everything that I am? So, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's b'chamta libi. You checked out my heart. I went through the X-ray. It was a thing that I did. It was a Yetzer Hara, a Stiyah, a Malach, whatever it was. The devil made me do it, but it wasn't. However you want to understand it, it wasn't me per se. It wasn't really the definition of me. So what is the definition of me? If it's not necessarily what I do, has a lot to do with it. If a person steals, it doesn't make them a ganav. And I'll tell you a bigger chiddush. If a person does chesed, it doesn't make them a Baal Chesed. A Baal Chesed is, in my opinion, it's something like a Ben Torah. If you learn a lot of Torah, it doesn't make you into a Ben Torah. If your father is a Talmud Chacham, it doesn't make a girl into a Bas Talmud Chacham. Because a Bas Talmud Chacham is like a Ben Torah. We're talking about something which is what a person is, not just what a person is, something which actually defines the person. So you find in Chazal, it can bring you a lot of proofs, but take my word for it right now, that we find in Chazal very often that a person is what they want. If you go into the actual Ratzon of a person, what do I want on the deepest level? That's the definition of myself. I'll tell you what I want. You'll see sometimes in a person by what really makes me happy. Various don't make people happy. But even if you want, you think that's a davar chitzoni. What I really want will make me happy. I'll tell you a bigger chiddush. Just take it from where it comes. But our children will come out according to what we really want, not by what we do, not by what we say, and not by. Our children will come out by what we really want. It doesn't. It's not about. It's really almost not about anything like other than that. I think it's like I always think about my father always was an Am Haaretz, couldn't read Hebrew. He was a huge Ben Torah. He was a huge Ben Torah. He wouldn't turn right. My father. It would, if there was a suffix of stealing a penny from somebody overcharging somebody, run after him in the street at a store to give it back to him. It was I made a mistake on the old cash register, the adding machines. You remember as a kid, that was would a person, kids are B'nai Torah. I mean, whatever. But at least trying to. The Ratzon is what's in a way more important than what you do. Not to say it's not important what we do. And Lishma is when what we do emanates from our Ratzon. So the Ratzon is a very pnimi thing. So let's just say I printed out the Zohar. The Zohar says like this. Let me just read you a little bit. This is actually nice because it's from the Rav Frisch Zohar, so I'm reading in Hebrew. Pasach v'amar vayasis tzitz nezer hakodesh zahav tar lama nikra tzitz. Why is it called a tzitz? What does tzitz mean? Like a little sprout, yeah? So why is it called a tzitz? So Zohar meisha mishum shehu istaklos li istakel by, because tzitz has another thing like meitzitz min hacharakim. What's the lesson there? Meitzitz min hacharakim, peaking. So istaklos li istakel by mishum shehu nimsa li istaklus ben adam. The tzitz was used by the Kohen Gadol, get a load of this, to do an X-ray on the person that was standing in front of him, a spiritual X-ray. They did that
to the Nos Shivi also, right?
What?
To the women they captured from Midian.
Oh, very good, very good. But sits how you ois, this is just a Hebrew translation of desire. But sits how you ois, I'll lose some of its romance in the Hebrew now, but it's okay, we'll understand maybe. But sits how you ois, Hashem HaKadosh, mifutachos b'pituach v'chakuchos by. There was an engraving of the Osios. It's called in the Rambam a tfus, by the way. Interesting, because there was no tfus at that time. But they took the Yud Kei Vav Kei and it was like a what do you call that? Like it stamped it into the Vim Tzadiku. If a person stands in front of the Kohen Gadol, Im Tzadiku Mishoim Milafanov. The one Elu Oisius HaKukos Teichazav Haya Harasam Balotas Ve'olsos Mimato Lamala Machkika Hiva Yamiris B'Fanav Shaladamahu. That if the Kohen Gadol was standing in front of a person, and the person was a tzaddik, he would see the reflection of the Yud Kei Vav Kei in the face of the person standing in front of him. I told you what happened to me when I was called up as an aide. I was once visiting Eretz Yisrael from America, so I was called up as an aide at a chasna, common, called up as a witness. And Rav David Soloveitchik was the Masader Kedushin. So he's a pretty intense guy, David Soloveitchik. So Brisker, son of the Brisker Rav. So I went up to be an aide, and Rav David's like, who's this guy? Him an aide has to be an aide. So I'm standing there at the chuppah. There's maybe 400 people behind me, and I went through this full body scan, top to bottom, and then bottom again to the top. I think it took about 45 minutes, probably about 10 seconds, but I felt it. And then he announced to whoever was around him, I don't know who he was talking to, the aide is kosher. Who? Which is why it's a good idea to do tshuva before you walk up to be an aide. It's Allah, you have to do tshuva. Okay, so that's it. I have a. I wish I got a copy of that film. So so the Kohen Gadol, somebody's standing in front of the Kohen Gadol, and the Kohen Gadol is looking at him, and he's saying, he's tzaddik, he's a Rasha. Well, a person is tzaddik or Rasha, what does the Kohen Gadol need? A tzitz, some supernatural being? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Does he do mitzvahs? Is he shomer Shabbos? Is he giving tzedakah? Or is he stealing from people? Is he a rude person? What's the nekuda here of tzaddik or Rasha? So the answer is, says the Zohar, that what he's doing is he's not looking at the person, he's not looking at the brain of the person, he's not looking, what this is doing is it's looking at the ratzon of the person. So says the Zohar. That sits on the forehead, Shem Hashem, on the forehead of the Kohen Gadol was somehow able to reflect the ratzon of the person. How that works, I don't know, but what's important for us is that the ratzon is the key. The ratzon is the key to being a tzaddik and not being a tzaddik. It's all about the ratzon. That's what's important over here. So when we're looking at somebody, are you a good person, bad person? We're looking. I don't know. We don't have it sits, but we're looking at the ratzon hapnimi of the person. And so that's the. I think one of the Svarim say that it's like. Here's the machshava, which can be analyzed. The thought process can be analyzed. But then the po'al yotzei of the neshama, of the machshava, rather, what comes out of the machshava, decision that comes out of that can translate into ratzon. That can become my ratzon, meaning let's say this is the fruit of my thoughts. This is where I'm really coming from, and that's my ratzon. And just like the forehead. This is the mashal, just like the forehead surrounds, packages the brain, so too does the ratzon package the machshava. And the midah of Netzach is the midah of ratzon. So we can start to begin to understand according to the Zohar. I'll read you a little bit more, and then we'll begin to understand. One slide already. Mishum sheratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu hayiba'adam ahu amistakel b'tzitz v'yada shu mezuman la'olam haba. Kimara zush hira me'oisiyos hatzitz ha'ira lo milmalash HaKadosh Baruch Hu hayirot seba. So there was two things that would happen over here. You would have the ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this person, and you'd have the ratzon of the person shining out from the tzitz. Kasher mishtafkelim boi la'acher kach lo yiro klum mishum sha'amar shalamala eina miskala elo lefisha. There was a gilui, but somehow or another there was a gilui of the ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'll tell you like a vart, I believe the Or Samech and the Rambam says this, if I recall. He says, why do you need the tzitz to be meratzeh a korban which is tamei hutra b'tzibur? I believe that's the Or Samech asked this question in the Rambam, if I recall. So, Lam Deshakasha, why do you need the tzitz to be meratzeh hutra b'tzibur? So says the Or Samech, that's true that Tumah is Hutra B'tzibur, Tumah is Hutra B'tzibur, but Tumah is Tumah. And you don't want it to be part of the carbon. So what does the tzitz do? It's meratzeh, the tzitz, this let's leave it with this, the tzitz will bring out the ultimate ratzon of the person who's bringing the carbon. Since the tzitz has this koach, to see the ratzon of the carbon. So, look, I meant well. The carbon has tumah in it. Tumah hutra b'tzibur is not going to help because that's a din in the chitzoni. What the kohen is actually doing is he's saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the person is a good person. This is a good person. Take him in. So the he's standing there like the gatekeeper to Shemayim, something like the Menal in the schools in Bet Shemesh. This is a good person. There's nothing wrong with this person. Like why aren't you taking him in? So when you talk about, I'm going to just make a quick close, and then we're going to have to go back to this. When you talk about chutzpah or Moshe, what chutzpah is a gilui of that not chutzpah is not a gilui that I'm doing a bad thing. Chutzpah is azus Netzach, is to the core a chasarn and ratzin. There's something wrong with me if I have chutzpah. Meaning, if there's no boshes panim. If a person is standing before a great person, and you feel that you should be able to speak randomly and openly and whatever's on my mind, something matter. There's something that you're not understanding. You're not wanting to learn from that person. You're not. There's something wrong. So the azus metzach is chutzpah in particular is a chasar not on a superficial level. The person is with chutzpah. So azus, like Amalek was klipa da azus. That's what it says in the Zohar. There's something like you see all the miracles. You see Mitzrayim. You see everything. You see all the miracles. I'm not Yaakov. What do you So doima la'adam shenafa lam batsha. There's a bulvan, as they call it in Yiddish. Jumping into the. There's a certain chutzpah there, which is such a deep chesaron. So it's very interesting because the chutzpah could be a good thing too, like havi oz kanomer. A person should have chutzpah. Says the Yiddish Shulchan Aruch. A person should have chutzpah to do the Ratzon Hashem. I'm going with chutzpah. Why is it a good thing? It's a good thing because it's megala my Ratzon. So chutzpah, azus, netzach is a gilui of the Ratzon of the person on the deepest level. That's what Ratzon is. A gilui of what a person is on the deepest level. If I have chutzpah for mitzvahs, go ahead and shoot me. Right? That's a. Az in the Kadisha, so that's showing my ratzon. Mishnah Berurah says, be careful with ratzon, because even if you're doing it for a mitzvah, Mishnah Berurah says in Simon Gimel, I think, even if you're doing for a mitzvah chutzpah, you don't know, it might be coming from some kind of a bad place. If like this chutzpah, it might be coming from some place which is negative. You have to be 100% lishma before you're megala your forehead here. Lo kolchach pashut. To be megala the forehead. So he says even for a mitzvah, chill. Don't be chutzpah. The chutzpah is a very very tenuous and a very very dogmatic thing. But what I wanted to accomplish today here is to understand that the forehead represents ratzon, And therefore, I guess what Hashem was saying to Cain was that let's put an ice on your head to say you're not rotten to the core. Thank God he's most of our grandfathers. You're not rotten to the core. You did a bad thing. You did a bad thing. Cain had the tzom, right? And Hevel had the vegetable, the other way around, right? He had the vegetation. Hevel had the tzom, and Cain had the vegetation, and they clashed. That's why we don't wear shatnez. That's the pshat in l'chayr. That's the pshat in shatnez. These two things. Don't wool from an animal when it's from the ground. The two things don't clash.
Kohen Gadol wears it.
Kohen Gadol wears it. That's exactly my point. Not only does he wear it, but he wears it to hold the tzitzah. He wears it to hold the tzitzah. But the point, apparently, what the mark of Cain was over here is that the Shem Hashem is still there. There's still some ratzon there of tov. There is some tov in Cain. Don't kill him. There should still be a tzelem alikim. He hasn't lost his tzelem alikim l'gamri. The tzitz, just to put it all together, is seeing the ratzon of the person. It's a certain type of an X-ray device, which is seeing the ratzon of a person. If you're smart enough, or you're the deep enough of a psychologist to be able to see the ratzon of a person, then you're doing really well. This is not behavioristic. This is very deep. What is? You got to ask a person. You got to ask yourself. Ask the children. And they're like, what do you really want? Because what you really want is going to happen. Ein davar omed v'bnei haratzon. At the end of the day, the ratzon is the thing that's going to be. If you want to instill something in your children, instill ratzon. Are we there? Are we not there? Basically, but at least the ratzon. If people are in Chutz La'aretz, they should always have a ratzon to come to Eretz Yisrael. At least have the ratzon, because the ratzon, so you can be like, Lipi Bam Israel. There could be such a nakuda. So what we're talking about here is the ratzon, and the ratzon is marapa, and that's the pshat in Cain, and that's the pshat in the tzitz, as much as we understand, and that's the pshat in the tefillin, because the tefillin are being v'ro kol amei haaretz ki shem Hashem.
Notwithstanding Moshe's killing somebody, he put that ink on his forehead.
Moshe Rabbeinu, notwithstanding he's killing somebody, that his anivus was, my ratzon is to do for others. My ratzon is to give the Torah to others. Okay, we'll leave it. Okay. Go in here, we were here. This is two different things. This is the makom of ratzon, this is the makom of machshava. So you have to think about the fact that it's two different pshatim in tefillin. It's not just like accidentally they're misreading the Torah and we're reading the Torah. There's something very deep. They're doing the same thing that all the religions are doing, putting a tattoo or a doll or you have
Yeah, the dollar bill.
Yeah, right.
And the pyramid. They have an eye in the middle of the pyramid.
Right. Eye in the middle of the pyramid. I think that's a Mason.
Yeah, Masonic.
Yeah, it's a Mason thing, but it refers to the middle eye, which that's what, if you'll read up on it, refers to the middle eye, which sees something deeper than the chitzonius of it. So the pyramid represents the person, which was the Egyptian idea, burying people in pyramids, because it's like, and the pyramid is the purpose, and then there's this deeper aspect of it, the middle eye. Every religion is into it, and probably all comes from us. The whole Indian of Cain. To go further than Cain.
So in Islam, Muhammad supposedly went on a unicorn, some sort of horse.
Okay.
Well, they also do a thing like the they bang stones on their head to pour blood.
Who does?
And the Islamic extremists. Oh. And they pour blood down their forehead so that and then they wrap a thing around the Hamasik. They wrap a thing around their forehead, and I think there's blood underneath it.
Really?
That's probably,
Didn't know that.
I know there's Christians you see in the old city that actually tattoo
Ethiopia is also allowed to want to have these Ethiopians culture.
Yeah, it's all about dessert.
Yeah. Which is funny because they put from ladies.
Uh-huh.
From ladies with the tattoos on the
Right.
forehead.
But I mean, what I'm saying in the Avodah Zarah is that the tradition, however it came out to all the different religions, the tradition is all dealing with this Netzach. Azus Netzach.
The difference
It's not the Azus, but Azus Netzach.
The difference between Azus
Nothing
Metzach
wrong
and
with my
Azus
runs.
Panim.
What?
Azus Metzach and Azus Panim is the same thing, or it's two different?
Oh, very good question. What's Azus Netzach? What's Azus
Azus
Panim?
Panim again? Or
Azus
Sounds like
Netzach.
Netzach's deeper.
Azus Netzach is worse. You see, we don't say a vidui on Azus. The vidui there is on like the deepest. Az Panim is, okay. I'll have to say.
And we also look at putting Efer for what we went for Chassan.
Oh,
It's also in
very
Mashiach.
good. Very good. See, like,
What?
Ein lechachem v'yichachem oy. Yeah, that's true. The chassan puts Zev v'lechorben is always on the forehead.
Yeah.
But there it's also, we put on the Malchus Tron
Right.
short.
The Mashiach by King is also.
Rav Tendler, Monsey, so he comes once a year and he goes up to the behind the coastal. So you're not supposed to plant trees behind the Rambam is all in trees, so he gets angry when they planting trees like that's the only thing that's fine. Forget about worshiping it different.
Right.
So he grabs a
Really?
he always grabs a branch
Really?
and then he burns it, and that's what he puts on the head of every
Chassan.
on-
Ah.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, Tendler genius to geniosity. That's an interesting, it's like he explains it, so what he's Masada Kedusha, it's like very moving when
Deep, yeah.
it's not just like who's got anybody got a cigarette? Like the usual thing that's going on.